also how this can translate across goalkeepers, how this can translate across goalkeeping all the way across the spectrum. So something that we're super excited about. And again, I want people to ask questions when we get to the Q&A bit later on. I've got some video to show you guys as well, and then we'll go from there. So, like I said, I'm the assistant coach right now at Arizona State University. We're in the Pac-12 conference. We're moving into the Big 12 conference, and it's an exciting time right now in college athletics. A little bit of my journey and my background. Started my career back in 2007 at Manchester United FC, my hometown. Also coaching at the college level as well in England. From there, my journey moved over to the States and coaching in the WPSL, working for Challenger Sports soccer camps, and then also for Tony DiCicco at Soccer Plus goalkeeper camps as well. That led me into the club world of Kansas City Athletics, the director of goalkeeping, then to Mid-America and NIA program in Kansas City, and also doing ODP for the state of Kansas. And then made my way over to Illinois State University and FC Central Illinois. From there to Cal State University, Bakersfield in California, within the Surf organization, United Soccer Coaches as a coach educator, and then moving my way to Arizona State back in July last year. But coaching now for about 16 years. Coaching licenses started all the way back in 2008, all the way through to currently I'm undergoing my USB license as well. And I've been fortunate enough to be involved in different facets where I've been able to pick and see different goalkeeping environments with the Scottish FA, with United Soccer Coaches, with US Soccer, and with the English FA as well. That's kind of helped me build up my coaching style to where it is right now. So one of the biggest themes that's going to kind of go through this presentation is trying to get goalkeeper coaches to begin to see how goalkeeping's evolved over the years, and also how the typical goalkeeper session can be very, very technically heavily focused. And a lot of times when you see goalkeeper sessions, they are 60 to 80%, sometimes 90% of the session is technical development. And then we might only spend 10 to 20% of the session actually allowing the goalkeeper to be a decision maker. And the reality is that goalkeepers need to be better decision makers. And for that to happen, they need to spend a bit more time on it during training. And the way I build up my goalkeeping sessions is pretty 50-50, where we might spend about 40 to 50% of the session on technical development and then 40 to 50% of the session on decision making. And now for me, that's the way I built my sessions, working with the U8, the U9, the U10 goalkeeper, all the way through to the college goalkeepers. Because I believe even at the younger ages, yes, there's a need for technical development because they're trying to hone up, how to catch a ball, how to dive, etc. But how can they implement those into the game? It only happens if they're allowed to be able to make decisions and kind of reach into that goalkeeping toolkit that they have to then move that from the training field to the game field. Again, guys, going making sure that these things are 50-50. Again, technical development and decision-making elements and sessions, trying to find a balance between both of them. My approach to my goalkeeping methodology, so I want to try and create a technically efficient goalkeeper who knows when and how to be tactically effective in the game. And why? Because I love helping players develop. I want to try and impact their lives. I try my best to do that by being detail orientated and trying to have as much transparency in the goalkeeping training sessions as possible with the goalkeepers. Being able to use video is a massive, massive tool. Obviously, it's not available to everybody, but especially in environments where now the kind of the 13 plus age groups and all those games get recorded in VO and Trace, etc. How can we try and encourage more goalkeepers of their own accord to watch back on games and watch back on training sessions? And then the importance of trying to build trust in an environment and trying to get that trust can lead to great confidence in the goalkeeper. And that's something that we all challenge with the goalkeeper coaches and as coaches in general. How do we try and get the goalkeeper to maintain confidence consistently and to try and feel really, really good about what they're doing, and then hopefully it affects their form and they can try and do well for a little bit longer than having dips in form with their confidence. And again, trying to have environment for me is everything. Can I try and create an environment for these goalkeepers to thrive in, to feel challenged in, and to push themselves? And that's the environment I feel like as many goalkeeper coaches can do is to try and that's the environment that goalkeeper coaches can build. So I want to take a minute. I want everybody right now who's on the call to have a consideration in what is the why behind when you're building a goalkeeping session? And if you're just a regular field coach or a regular team coach, same principle applies. What is the why behind your session? What do you think about? What do you consider when you put pen to paper and you write down a session? And I just want everyone to take a second to think about that before we kind of dive into the details of a training session. These are some of the things that I start to consider when I'm trying to build a session. Having a topic in mind and trying to stick to the theme of a session as much as possible so I can develop the goalkeeper's technical and then the decision making. Sometimes you'll watch a training session where you might have, hey, let's do a high ball here for deal with a cross, then let's deal with a shot, then let's deal with a 1v1. Sometimes for the younger goalkeepers, especially, that can be very, very confusing because those three actions don't correlate in the same moment in the game. So it's a really, really considerate moment that, hey, are we actually thinking about a theme in the training session? And how is that goalkeeper translating that in their mind to then link that? So then when they're making decisions in the game, they have a thought process that makes sense to them. Being aware of the age that you have and the expectations that you have for your age group, and being realistic when it comes to serve. I had a great question at the convention where a goalkeeper coach described to me that when you're running a U10 goalkeeping session and the coach is the one who's making the serves and the goalkeepers are not making saves. And there's over and over again, they're conceding goals, they're not making saves. And I did ask the coach, well, hey, if you're a 35-year-old coach hitting balls at a U9, a U10 goalkeeper, how can you expect them to make saves? That's not the environment that they train in. That's not the environment that they play in. Why have we not got a U9 or a U10 player or the goalkeeper hitting the serve? And most of the time, the answer is, well, because they can't hit it well. But why is that not okay? Because the reality is, when you're in a game environment with U9s or U10s playing games, that inconsistency or that the different types of serves or different types of shots are going to happen in that U10s environment. So why can we not let that happen in training as well? Why are we always in search of perfect? As just something to consider when you're having your training session, that if you're the one serving the ball all the time, that's not necessarily what the goalkeeper is going to see in the environment when they're playing. Asking the goalkeepers questions. Can we ask them questions and can we have some pre-written questions for your training session plan? I'll always have a couple of questions on my session plan for the goalkeepers to consider before we start training. And then there'll be some natural questions that will come out during the training session as well that I can help them try and guide them through to try and figure out some answers and problem solve. But consider, are you asking your goalkeepers questions during training that might help them explore what they're doing as a goalkeeper? Things don't go to plan. Can we be ready to adapt, either simplify and slow down the session or progress it? And then remembering goalkeepers build muscle memory, where sometimes we don't have to make technical robots and goalkeepers. Sometimes goalkeepers can do things so very well in their own unique way that sometimes we have to let that happen. I currently have a goalkeeper right now at the collegiate level who her technique when it comes to 1v1 moments, especially when it comes to, for example, a block save, is very different to the way I would typically coach it. But she's very efficient at it. It works for her body and it works for the way she makes saves, and it also is consistent for her. So it's very difficult for me to try and convince her or show her a different technique when the technique that she uses, it might be unorthodox, but it does work for her. And that's what makes her a unique goalkeeper. So something to consider when you're working with your goalkeepers, if they're using a technique that works very well for them, why are we trying to change it when it does work very well for them? The session plan. So this is the way I would write out a training session plan. It comes in 4 parts. The activation piece is sometimes can be a bit of a buzzword. for goalkeepers warming up. For me, it's not. For me, the warm up in terms of a jog, a stretch, etc., happens before the activation, and then we get into the activation part of the session, the announced part of the session, the unannounced part of the session, and then the live and game portion of the session. And we're going to go through each part of the session, moving to the next side of the presentation. Another piece that works quite well for me currently, and I've done this now with my club goalkeepers and my college goalkeepers, I will write out a training session plan and I will put it in a plastic film and I will put it next to the post before we start training because I want the goalkeepers to have a look at training session and have a really, really good idea of what's happening in training before we get started. And the reason why we do this is because I want the goalkeepers to have some transparency. And I really, really want them to know what's happening in the training session. It does relieve some of that anxiety before training begins.
Ali, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Technology. But yeah, so having a training session plan next to the post for the goalkeepers available for them to look at can definitely help with relieving some anxiety from the session. And hopefully help the goalkeepers' confidence going into training, having a little bit of an idea of what's going to happen before they get told what's going to happen. But just something to consider. This works across every age group, even when it comes to a 10-year-old goalkeeper, 11-year-old goalkeeper. They might not fully understand the session, but they get a little pictures of, okay, we're going to do this bit, then we're going to do this bit, then we're going to do this bit, just to give them a little bit of an idea. And it's going to help their learning in general as a player, as a soccer player, just to help build on their knowledge in the game. Activation, so exercises to get the mind and the hands and the feet working and something competitive to build a tempo into the training session. This is something that we do every single day, something that's always going to be competitive. It's pretty short and sharp, and it can also be rondos with a purpose as well. So I'll show you a quick little video of a couple of different exercises that we do, but these can all be manipulated to fit an environment for any age group, in my belief. But something with a little bit of movement to get started. For example, here with my 3 goalkeepers, and finding a little bit of space, a little bit of movement and handling, and just receiving the ball and playing the ball, just to get the goalkeepers thinking a little bit, get them making a couple of short, sharp decisions, and just something that's just nice and competitive for them as well. A little game that we do, which has 4 different cone colors on each corner, and the aim of the game is can we get each corner to be the same color, but you can only move 1 cone at a time. And this is just a little cognitive exercise to get the goalkeepers to thinking, a little bit of problem solving, and just helps them really, really just get into the session and get competitive. Again, in our environment, we're trying to get the goalkeepers to stand out and be the number 1. So this is a great way of doing it. Playing goalkeeper tennis, same principle as some regular soccer tennis, except you can use your hands and you have a maximum of 3 touches. Just something that gets really, really competitive, as you can see there. Again, between us, we're trying to breed that environment. A fun little game about trying to get the goalkeepers to think about making sure trying to keep their leg closed. Hands have to start on their knees. You can't move your hands until the ball gets moved. One player can start with the ball, and the aim is to try and knock the ball through another player's legs. And this gets pretty competitive, especially with our freshman goalkeeper. She gets nutmegged in that one. A little bit of 2-touch with a little dummy, just something just to get the ball moving, and we can keep the ball afloat by just pushing it over in space, but we don't have to have a dummy in this environment, but just keep the ball in the air. Another exercise that we do that is with 2 balls and multiple goalkeepers. You receive a ball, you can give it to someone else, but you can't go back to the person who gave it to you. And it's just a quick little exercise and just to get goalkeepers to really be thinking and focusing on the session. We do the same principle with receiving some volleys and can I find the open player? And we do the same thing as we get into a little bit of passing. Can we find the open player on the first or second touch and just get the ball moving? Tic-tac-toe, another game that I'm sure a lot of people have seen before. Just different color cones in our groups. A little quick game of tic-tac-toe. I think I cheated in this one. Oh, yeah, right there. Won that game right there. But just a fun little competitive game. It really sets the tone for the session. And a game of spike ball as well, which is a great fun game to be able to play. I'm sure someone's got a game like that at home. It's a really, really fun game to do with goalkeepers, just to get them moving around and get them touching the ball just before we get our gloves on. And then a fun little rondo. Just quick, sharp 2 touches. Just get them moving a little bit, quick decisions. Unfortunately, I got megged in this one, I believe, right there. I'm not as fast as I used to be, unfortunately. And then a game of horseshoe. This is just a quick game on just distribution, where we have to try and clip the ball, try and chip the ball, and the goalkeeper has to try and score with 1 touch. You can also do this with just a cone. And when you receive the ball, your first touch, you have to try and get the ball as close to the cone as you possibly can. The announced part of the session. So this is the part of the session that I think sometimes overtakes a training session for goalkeepers, where this ends up being a really, really long part of the session. This is where it's technical. This is where the goalkeepers know where the ball is coming from. So they know, hey, we're going to do some footwork. I might make a W save here. I might make a W save here. I might make a W save over here. But the idea is that, hey, we can build technical reps into this part of the session. It's very technique focused. It's in a controlled environment, and yes, we can have reps. But this part of the session doesn't have to get overly extended and dominate the session, because we want to try and get the goalkeepers to build their goalkeeping toolkit on their technical ability and on their technique. And then we need to move on to how can we apply that technique into the game in the unannounced part of the session. But there's a couple of clips here from some of the announced pieces that we've done before. This is a quick little handling and passing exercise, just to get the goalkeepers receiving the ball, thinking about their initial hold and their initial catch. And then can I just get them to take a touch, connect passes, just hitting small 5-6 yard passes. There's a nice quick little exercise, quick little bit of technical work that we do. Then again, now we change the save. So we go into a front smother. And then we go into the same little bit of passing, where we can progress this into different types of saves, and then the same element applies with the pass. Just get some connecting. One that we've done with breakaways is some front smothers. So with some regular smothers, just a quick little exercise where the goalkeepers see the ball, they get down and get down to win it. A little bit of context as well. My group of goalkeepers are a pretty high level of goalkeepers in the on the Division 1 level. All 3 of them have national team experience. One of them with Germany, one of them with Iceland, and one of them recently with the Mexican national team. So that just gives you a bit of context on the 3 goalkeepers. A little bit of technical exercise about getting across the goal and some handling. Just thinking about their movement, getting across the goal from one point to another. And again, progression in the save here. Getting them to really, really start thinking about, we're not going to be overly focused on the type of save that we're making. Sometimes we might have to make a different decision. And we just change up the footwork as well, just to get them to get them moving, going from one point to another again. Same out here now, where this is a little bit of focus on our set position and just a little bit of handling, just moving across, getting in line with the serve. Again, very repetitive and very logical, and the goalkeeper knows where the service is going to be coming from. So this just helps them build technique. It helps them build reps. It also helps them just get into the frame of the session as well, about an idea of some of the movements that they're going to make when they have to start making a few more decisions. This goes into a little bit of high balls as well now. Again, just getting them to make some contact, get off the ground, get their knees up, going into a very simple exercise, and just get some going. And then another exercise here, just going through a high ball progression. We just kind of got goalkeepers alternating. One of them is going up, one of them is being the goalkeeper, or just a bit of interference. It kind of just rotates very quickly and just gets them moving. So hopefully this gives a little bit of an idea of what we mean by when we say an announced part of the training session. Now, the unannounced part of the session, this is where we want the goalkeepers to make decisions. Now, we've done the announced part of the session. We've built up their technical ability. We've also built up their toolkit and different options that they might have to make some saves. But now here in this part of the session, can we make actions at game speed? Can we have them with some consequences? So can we have them where moments if they don't make the correct save or if they make a mistake, goals happen? And also getting the goalkeepers to think about, hey, what did you do that you think you did really well, and what would you do differently? And also just constantly getting them to consider game-based decisions. So this is the part of the session that I feel like we don't do enough of, or some coaches don't do enough of in their goalkeeping environments. And this is where you can have a goalkeeper that's very, very technically proficient and knows how to make a catch, knows how to make a save, but when you get into the game, they're not making these same saves or they're not pulling they're conceding goals because they haven't been allowed to use their toolkit in a training environment as well. So now when we say unannounced, this is where typically there's going to be one ball, not multiple. This is where again different things can happen. The goalkeeper has to pay attention and be focused, be ready to read the ball. This one when we were looking at defending the goal. This was one where we went into doing when the ball's in the box. One where the goalkeepers had to sit, making a pretty good save there. Some short ones, decisions inside the 18, where sometimes we might have the time to make an approach, but we might not be able to get into a 1v1. So when am I making the decision to set and make the save, try and be explosive? There's a quick little exercise, just showing different pictures to the goalkeepers, different angles, different movements, one touch, two touch. The reality is these are shots they're going to see constantly in the game, especially if players are getting inside the 18. And then a moment where we get to build out, where we make a hold, I might connect with one of my defenders, and then we might have to potentially go a little bit wider and higher with the ball, with a player that gets a little bit wider and trying to clip some balls in. That one was a little bit overhit by a freshman. This one, I don't believe it's a little bit better. But trying to just get those to think about some tactical elements in the training session now as well with the unannounced part. And just getting to consider the type of passes that we might need to make with the players and that we have available as well. And another one now with a little bit of chaos in the box. This is where we go from a out of possession to an in possession to an out of possession moment, and we have to make decisions. And ideally, we're making decisions a little bit earlier than the striker might. The striker might not have enough time to make decisions. So can we try and shut them down quickly and earlier? And this is where we can have consequences as well if we don't parry the ball in the correct area, if we don't hold it. There can be goals, moments of breakaways as well. When am I going to potentially be able to come off my line and go and win balls? I might also have to do that under pressure. And then moments where we might have an in possession moment where I hold it and I might want to distribute quickly. So here, Pauli has some pretty good hands there, and let's say them getting that hold, making catches and making quick distributions to start counter attacks as well. Different out to in possession moments as well for the goalkeeper. And that's something we'll expand on in the next couple of slides as well. Here, a little bit not orthodox in the save, a quick recovery and a quick distribution. Moments that we've had happen in games as well with us in our environment. Similar moment here in a win. and finishes up, and a quick piece of distribution because we're giving them targets to play to. How many times can you consider in a training session where your goalkeeper makes a save or they make a hold, and then we haven't set up the next part for them, a target or a pass or a player for them to build out to, and then yet in a game when the goalkeeper makes a save, we've got coaches yelling at the top of their voices for the goalkeeper to distribute the ball. But when have we actually done that in training that then allows them to be able to do it in the game? So something to consider as well. And then the live part of the session. So this can look a little bit different depending on your environment. If you're just working with goalkeepers and you're not with a team, then it could be where we just remove all the conditions that we had in the training session and we just go live on every ball. If you are part of team sessions, then this is where a conversation with the head coach or a conversation with the person leading that part of the session, they say, how are we going to transition what we were just doing into the team part of the session into whether 11v11, 9v9, 7v7 into small sided games, or potentially into crossing and finishing exercises. But this is a conversation I'll have with my head coach pre the session, so then we have an idea of where this is going to lead into. A big element, something that I tell my goalkeepers all the time: can we be ready to play the service and not the drill? And what I mean by that is you've got to remember to be a goalkeeper all the time. So how many times, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people here on the call who would think about this, where how many times have you had your goalkeeper, for example, doing a bit of footwork and wanting to make a W save, and the person serving the ball hits the ball too far left, too far right, or doesn't come to a W, comes somewhere else, and your goalkeeper just leaves it, or your goalkeeper stretches for a ball but doesn't finish their feet. And the reason why I say play the serve, not the drill, is I want my goalkeepers to be goalkeepers all the time. So if they're making a W save in the first rep and then the second rep it demands a dive out of them, then they should be diving because that shows me their focus and it shows me that they're paying attention. They shouldn't get lost in specific techniques and exercises. They should remember to be goalkeepers all the time. And this is definitely going to be a direct correlation to their decision making. It's going to be a direct correlation to their reaction speed. It's going to be a direct correlation to them remembering that they're a goalkeeper all the time. Something to think about, something that have you had that conversation with the goalkeeper? How many times do we let it go as goalkeeper coaches where the goalkeeper might stretch for a ball and not put their body behind it? They'll just catch it like this on the side of them and just throw the ball back. How many times do we let that go? Or how many times can we tell the goalkeeper, hey, I want you finishing your feet behind the ball? Live game action. So I want to show you a couple of clips where some of the training sessions that we've done and sort of things that we've done kind of throughout this presentation that you've been to see bits of, and how that correlates to in-game moments. And sometimes special saves, which are some moments that we've all been able to see with our goalkeepers that you work with. So a little reaction save that Pauli, our starting goalkeeper right now, made against the University of Arizona. Another save she made here against UCLA. Another save here that she made in a nice hole she made here as well against Riley Turner, who's at NWSL draftee, sorry. So if you remember a couple of videos ago, she was making those holes and those catches and then getting ready to distribute moments that she has in the game. Reaction save she makes here of a late deflection. But just kind of giving you guys an idea of how the correlation can lead to these moments in the game. This is a cutback save. This one was just a bit of pure reactions. Came off the defender's knee, about 2 yards out of goal. A moment where she got to tip the ball over the bar. There's another save here, just getting Stanford in a 1v1 moment. Again, reactions here. Just pushing the ball onto the bar. those a lot of simple actions, stuff she's done over and over and over again that she's able to perform in the game. I know the reactions she makes, just pushing this header over the bar. So some game models. So when we are considering planning a training session for the goalkeepers, are we thinking about what area of goalkeeping that they are dealing with? So are they defending the goal, which is typically in and around the 6 yard box on the goal? Are they defending the area or are they defending the space? I'm sure we've all heard that term before where you have your coach yelling to your goalkeeper, um, why did you not get that? It was inside the 18. And some people forget how big the space of the 18 is. And this is something that goalkeeper coaches should always consider. When I'm planning out my training sessions, am I defending the goal? I'm asking the goalkeeper to defend the area. So I'm not really necessarily going to be making shot stopping moments, but it might be moments where I have to come out and win the ball. And am I defending the space? Moments where I have to leave the 18 either to go win a ball or organizationally, am I defending the space by making sure my back line is organized constantly? But these three game models we use as reference when we're building a training session so the goalkeepers have an understanding of what's going to be demanded of them in these specific moments based on where the ball is. Distribution in games. So everybody wants a goalkeeper, right, that can do really, really well with their feet. The question is, how many times or when do we focus on that with the goalkeepers in training? So if we're looking back at some of the videos, we'll have moments in training where we are constantly, maybe at the start of the session, maybe at the middle part of the session, we might do have moments of just quick 1 touch, 2 touch passes, just moments that are going to happen in the game, 10 to 20 yard passes of working on our first touch, working on distribution, working on adding to the goalkeeper's toolkit. The benefits of building early learning in goalkeepers to be able to get comfortable with their feet is so important, especially in the game right now. So getting them to understand their technical and their tactical understanding, their positioning, and when to make decisions and when to break lines. So here's a fact, a little bit of a piece of information about my current goalkeeper. So during her season, their 20-game season this past fall, she played in all 20 games. She played just over 2,000 passes in the 20-game period. She had a 93% pass completion rate. It was the highest pass completion rate of any player, field or goalkeeper in the Pac-12 conference. And she believed she was third or fourth in the country at the time. Of that, 80% of the passes that she made were between 5 and 20 yards. They were not anything more than that for that 80%. So she was just constantly working on making those short, sharp passes and making sure that they connected and they were completed. And she did that consistently. But because we delve into training so much in it, but we don't hyper focus on, hey, we're going to do an entire hour or an entire 2 hours of training on just distribution. What we do is we add it in and we sprinkle it in throughout nearly every training session that we do, so it becomes a more constant attribute of their goalkeeping. So something to consider for coaches, like how many times do we get the goalkeepers just to pass the ball to each other, or how many times do we do a little bit of passing under pressure in a training session, and how much more consistently can we make that so then they're going to develop and being a better passer. And it's just something to think about for goalkeeper coaches. This is a quick little video, a couple of moments where she was able to break lines in save sessions, but this is where constant. She's been doing this since she was, I believe, 9 years old, all the way through now, where especially where she's from in Germany, they are constantly believing the manual no way of being a goalkeeper with good feet. So she was doing this constantly, which led to these moments in games of distribution and quick thinking. This one going up a quick throw, but moments obviously with distribution of their feet, and then getting the goalkeepers to understand that you have a toolkit when it comes to distribution, and not just the typical way of just punting the ball and just hitting it for the sake of it. Every moment a goalkeeper has the ball in their hand and they have a distribution opportunity, there has to be a purpose. So there has to be an A to B. So can I pick out an option? And then I want to ask my goalkeepers too, if they do go long, What was the purpose? Why did you do it? And then that way it's going to hold the goalkeeper with a bit of accountability when I'm trying to connect passes. Can I try and make them and connect them with people instead of just hitting the ball long and hoping that one of my teammates is going to get it? And then the other part of that is, can I know my teammates? So I might have a right outside back or right outside defender who's really, really comfortable at receiving the ball at her feet. But I might have a left outside back who would rather have the ball in space in front of her, not at her feet because she hasn't got a great first touch. But I want my goalkeeper to understand, can you know your personnel? Can you know your teammates? So then when you are picking out what type of pass you want to play and that's going through your mind, you are considering the teammate you're trying to get the ball to. That's going to hopefully get them be more successful in the pass you give them. And now we're into in possession versus out of possession moments. So this is a big part of training. So when you're planning your training session, are you considering when the goalkeeper has the ball and when the goalkeeper doesn't have the ball? So this is a little flow chart of the way I look at it, where in possession might be making a save, holding the ball, receiving a pass. And then it goes into in possession moments where I'm going to have a supporting solution. I'm going to be aware of my opponent. I'm going to try and create some space. And then I'm going to have four options. Can I play around the opponent, through the opponent, onto the opponent, or playing beyond the opponent? When I don't have the ball and there's an out of possession phase of the game, can I be proactive in my prep? So can I be talking? Can I be communicating? Getting my back line organized? Can I be aware where the opponent is? Can I try and manage the space? And then what am I going to protect? Am I protecting the space, the area, or the goal? Which leads back to the game model I showed you guys a little bit earlier. And the reason why this is so important is when I'm doing a training session, are you considering when you're taking a shot at the goalkeeper and they make a save, why are we moving on to another rep in the unannounced part of the session? Why are we moving on to another rep with another save instantly? When in the game, if I make a save and the goalkeeper holds the ball, they're now in possession. What would happen in the game? In the game, you would then be demanded to distribute the ball. So, can you consider that when you're in possession and the goalkeeper makes a save and holds the ball, are you putting out targets to encourage them to distribute the ball? So think about that when you plan your training. So think about the sessions that you've done before. How many times am I going to get the goalkeeper to actually have those moments that look like the game? And if I'm not doing that, that might be a correlation between why my goalkeeper doesn't play quickly, why my goalkeeper makes the correct or incorrect decision on where to pass the ball. So that's something that we've got to consider. It can't just be make a save, make a save, make a save, make a save. In an average game of football, it is extremely rare that a goalkeeper will make multiple saves in succession. And typically, a goalkeeper in a game moment, typically a goalkeeper is working for a maximum of 7 seconds. But if you're running an exercise that's lasting 15, 20, 30 seconds in one rep, for example, that doesn't correlate to the game of football. Now, that is going to vary depending on the age, depending on the level, etc. But we should be trying to implement moments where I get the goalkeeper to think, and that has to happen in the training pitch. And if it happens on the training field, on the training pitch, then it's going to happen in the game. But if we're not doing it in training, it's not magically going to happen to the goalkeeper in the game. So really consider those in possession, out of possession moments for your goalkeepers when you're planning your training session, and how does that logically connect to the goalkeeper's mind? Like when they're making saves, are they connecting passes, or if they're making parries and then they're demanded to make another save, what are they doing? Are they trying to put the ball out? Are they trying to put it into a non-dangerous area, or are they trying to hold it and then distribute the ball? Because that's what would happen in the game. Development plans. So this is always a fun conversation when, a few years ago, my development plan might be, I'm going to just have a quick chat with the goalkeeper. Hey, how you feeling? How you doing? What do you think is going really good for you? What's not going so well for you? For me, I learned over the years that in my development plans, one, putting pen to paper so I have a bit of a record of what the goalkeepers are doing, but what they're thinking about, but also being okay with the goalkeepers changing their minds on how they feel. So one way we do that is we build a little document that the goalkeepers have access to that they can update whenever they feel they want to, but typically every couple of weeks. And then one week, my goalkeeper might say that, hey, my strength right now is I'm doing really, really well with crosses. I feel like I'm doing really, really well. My areas to improve, I'm not really communicating that well. But in 2 or 3 weeks, that could change, but that's okay. But I want my goalkeepers to own their development a little bit more. And then also asking them, hey, what's your goalkeeper superpower right now? What are you feeling really, really good about? What do you think you're performing at really, really well? Just to try and give their confidence a boost. And then also for their self-development, they have an awareness of what they're doing really, really well. And then short-term and long-term goals. Sometimes people think that short-term and long-term goals have to be kind of a bit of a fixture. I think in football, it changes. It's as fluid as the game can be. And we have to be okay with that as coaches. And then also just asking them about their thoughts the last few weeks. Sometimes it can be a scary thing to ask your players or your goalkeepers, hey, what are your thoughts on training? And I think as a goalkeeper in your growth, as a goalkeeper coach in your growth, you have to be open to getting feedback from your players and from your goalkeepers. So something to think about. I'm losing my voice a little bit. Pardon me. Sorry, losing my voice. Can everyone hear me? Sorry, it's getting a little bit wheezy. But yeah, so for the goalkeepers, just getting them to self-monitor their development a little bit as well. And the value of asking questions for the goalkeepers. Can we as coaches ask the goalkeepers questions and get their perspective? How often as a coach do you ask your goalkeeper what are they seeing and what do they feel like is happening in front of them? That's really, really important because sometimes we can dismiss goalkeepers because of their age or their experience about what they see. And we have to be okay as coaches to get that information from them. And that might manipulate the next training session. It might also correlate to what the goalkeeper sees is not necessarily what I see as a coach. And that's okay. And I might have to take that perspective on board because they might be seeing things a little bit differently. And that can definitely inform my coaching and my next session. I apologize. Voice is going a little bit. Just leading on to what I just said about hearing and listening to your goalkeepers, asking them questions, and this can build an environment of confidence for the goalkeepers. And this can lead to the goalkeepers recognizing and you as a coach recognizing when we might need more or less and when we might need to explain things further and articulate them, but also challenging the goalkeeper to explain what they see and why they're seeing it. And this can definitely inform my training sessions and also where they're at in their development and also what I might potentially need to change in the session, but also what the goalkeepers are seeing in front of them. And that might look a little bit different to what you might think is happening in front of you as well. And then be the hype. This is probably the most important part for me as a coach. We play a special part as goalkeeper coaches where we see things that the goalkeepers don't necessarily see. That other coaches don't see all the time. So can we help build their confidence up and be their hype man? And this is a great picture, my favorite one from the past 4 seasons, where this is where we broke the ASU shutout record that hadn't been touched since 2007. We kept 9 clean sheets in a season. And for me, Tony DeChico said it really, really well. Paxton being good. How many times do you tell your goalkeepers what they've done was really, really good? And then also consider when you're talking to your players, how many of them, when you say stop, stand still, or when you say, hey, I want to have a chat with you, how many of them instant reaction is, okay, coach, this is what I did wrong, or this is what didn't go so well. Maybe I can be telling the goalkeeper when I tell him to stop, stand still, hey, I just want to let you know this went really, really well for you. You did this really, really well. And not have them to have this anxiety of when coach says stop or coach wants to talk to me, that it necessarily means that I've done something wrong. But trying to catch them Trying to catch them doing the good things, doing things well, can really reinforce their confidence and really reinforce their development as well. And building trust with them. And then that way they know when you're giving them feedback and you're giving them information, it's coming from the right place. And also considering the individuals that you know as the goalkeepers that you work with, they might be very different. Some goalkeepers are really good at getting feedback in front of a group. Some are not so good at it. Some of them want individual information. Some of them want the cold, hard facts about what's going on. Some of them might need a little bit of making things look a little bit more shiny and a little bit better just to help their confidence. But getting to know the individual that you're working with, even within a group setting, is so key to developing relationships and developing confidence in your goalkeepers. Just going in towards the end of the presentation as we're coming to 45 minutes, and I apologize for my throat going a little bit. Just some resources as well that I use and something to consider. There's a lot of social media goalkeeping out there where you see a ton of drills and the exercises or drills without context, and something that I think can be a little bit dangerous in the goalkeeping world. And I definitely think that when you're looking for exercise out there or drills out there that you might want to do with your goalkeepers or trying to just look for some inspiration, you've got to make sure you understand the context of the exercise before you implement it in your group. And then that way you can see if it links in with what you do, or you might have to manipulate the exercise to work within your environment. Some of the things that I've used before, the training ground platform with United Soccer Coaches, where they're going to be constantly monthly uploading training sessions, videos from coaches all over the country. The Keeper Institute by Jill Lloyden and Maria Lloyden out in on the East Coast in New Jersey. For me, a great representation of what a great environment can be for goalkeeping development. So a big shout out to Jill and to Maria with the Keeper Institute. The Union Goalkeeping app is an app that is currently developing to connect more goalkeeper coaches and also content from different very reliable resources across the country. And then currently England Football Learning, which is the YouTube channel for the English Football Association. They do a really good job of putting very informative exercises and sessions across the spectrum with goalkeeping and defending, attacking sessions, outfield sessions, etc. It's a great page to have a look at to get some inspiration and some videos and some different things that you might potentially use within your settings. And then this is a little bit of self promotion as well, but I put out my content all the time. Some of you might have found me on there. Some of you might be on this call from some of the stuff that I put out there. But please connect with me. Reach out. I'm very fortunate that I have coaches reach out to me all the time, and I'm able to have great conversations. And also, it isn't just people asking me for ideas or things or whatever. It's vice versa. I've been able to network and build up my career so far because I reached out to people and I wanted to talk to people. And I encourage coaches to do it as much as possible because that's how opportunities come around, but that's also how you can get yourself into environments of learning and pick up things. And again, I believe all coaches are lifelong learners. And I think the best way to do that is to connect with other coaches and find ways to be able to have conversations. And then after this little bit, we'll have a Q&A. Like we'll chat a little bit. I know people are at lunchtime and people have things to do, and we can definitely have a chat in a couple of minutes. I'll be on this call for another 10 or 15 minutes, so I'll be happy to chat to people, ask questions, and just fire away and chat some goalkeeping. I just want to give a big thank you to Chris and to Arizona Soccer Association because they've been fantastic with getting this set up, and also with some of the stuff that Chris is doing across the state right now. He's doing some really great work, and it's great to have an association that is wanting to connect with as many coaches as possible, just to provide a platform for coaches to have a conversation. But yeah, that's all from me for now. I'll definitely we'll have this Zoom put together and a link to download it and to be able to view it, and then I will have the presentation available to send out to people. I'll be happy to share that. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know. You can put them in the chat or